Work does not mean that you wake up one day and say, I'm going to create a legacy. It means you wake up one day and say, I'm going to do things in order that the people behind me have it a little bit easier. And I'm reminded of that great poet Langston Hughes, who we just celebrated his birthday yesterday, February 1st. And he has a poem that most of us know by heart, and it's called Mother to Son. And it's a beautiful poem that really illustrates what we're trying to get across tonight, which is legacy isn't always having to get everything right, but it is to share the stories of how we got where we are, and it is to share the tips and the trades of where we've been. And so Langston Hughes penned a poem called Mother to Son, and it reads, well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had taps in it, and splinters, and boards turned up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare, but all the time I've been climbing and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I'm still going, honey. I'm still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. And there's some mothers and some fathers in here. There's some aunties and some uncles in here. There's some grandmothers and some grandfathers and some godparents in here. And you can say to your young ones, life for us ain't been no crystal stair. If I'm honest, 2019 ain't been no crystal stair. But I'm still going. I'm still crying. I'm still striving. So y'all, when you think about Black legacy, just think about our people. I think about Harriet Tubman. She didn't start off trying to create a legacy, but she knew that her people had a right to be free. So she brought countless numbers of enslaved Black folks to freedom. And that's what I call legacy. Nat Turner didn't start off trying to create a legacy, but when that boy preacher realized the slave owners had altered the Bible to keep them captive, he revolted to get his people to freedom. Now that's what I call legacy. Sojourner Truth didn't start off trying to create a legacy, but she raised the question, ain't I a woman? She said, ain't I a woman? And demanded equal rights for Black women. And that's what I call legacy.
Come on, put your hands together for legacy. Martin Josiah Garvey knew a thing or two about legacy. When he said, up ye mighty people, up ye mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Now that's what I call a legacy. Maria Stewart knew something about legacy when she was one of the first abolitionists to call for not the moderation of slavery, but to call for the end and the immediate abolition of slavery. Somebody say, now that's what I call a legacy. Mary McLeod Bethune knew what it meant to have a legacy right here in Florida to make sure that education would be a possibility. She put all she had into making sure that brick by brick, class by class, student by student, teacher by teacher, learning could be a possibility for Floridians from the top of the Sunshine State to the bottom of the Sunshine State. Somebody say, now that's what I call a legacy. Zora Neale Hurston knew what it meant to have a legacy. Through her writing, through her poems, she gave us a tradition of folklore. She gave us a tradition of language. She gave us a tradition of imagination so that we could see that even when our eyes are watching God, we can also see hope in our communities. Even when our eyes are watching God, we can also see the resurgence of democracy in our communities. Even when our eyes are watching God, we can also see the coming together of family in our community. Somebody say, now that's what I call a legacy. And certainly when we think about Martin Luther King Jr., the dream that he bequeathed to us along with Coretta Scott King, it was not just a 1963 thing, but when we talk about pushing forward for peace, pushing forward for what he called a world house, we're talking about legacy. When we talk about Ella Jo Baker, who said strong people don't need strong leaders. In other words, words, we can lead ourselves. We're talking about a legacy. In other words, we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We have the creativity. We have the capacity. We have the genius. We have the beauty. We have the brilliance. We have the power. We have the possibilities. We have the language. We have the education. We have the social network. We have the banks. We have the colleges. We have the textbooks. We have the tenacity. We have the courage. We have what it takes to do what this moment is calling for us to do. We can go higher. We can dig deeper. We can go forward faster. We can go higher with hope if we believe in legacy.
Legacy is what you leave behind. Legacy is what you stand for. Legacy is the change you make on the world. Legacy is the change to keep what you have, not just for you, but for everybody who's around you. Legacy is the imprint that you leave on society years after you're gone. And so y'all, we're done. But we just want you to shout 3 words back to